Welcome to Hope Ignited. I'm Kevin Hale. This is Ashley Miller. How are you, Ashley?
I'm making a lot of noise over here.
What? Okay. We have a comedian we're going to get to in a second on our show today, a very famous comedian. And the pressure when you have a comedian to rise to their level of funny is pretty significant. But Ashley and I were talking ahead of time about props or what could we do. We agreed we weren't going to do anything. And then Ashley's like, oh, I'm going to go get my daughter's jacket and put it on. Look at me. I'm fat guy in a little coat, right? Is that
but it looks just like it. Fat guy in a little coat.
So isn't this ridiculous?
It hurts.
Isn't that ridiculous?
Every bit of it hurts.
But so are you able to do basic? Can you tie your shoes right now?
Sure can't. I actually experienced this exact same thing whenever I was pregnant, trying to wear like normal clothes.
Oh, it was just as you grew.
Shout out to my women that understand what that means. Also, I'm highly offended as this is cutting off the circulation on all parts of my body right now that you didn't do props because we said we were doing props. So I did props, and I've got these, but it's ridiculous. You got your creepy gloves on. Are you cold or something?
I've just been freezing cold for like the last couple of weeks because I've been sick with bronchitis and stuff.
For the record, it's 110 degrees outside.
But I'm cold.
Real
so
weird.
She's giving me grief because I wear gloves sometimes when I get cold, right?
Says no one ever.
But it is getting a little warmer.
Those are not a prop, though.
No, the gloves are not a prop.
This is ridiculous, the amount of pain that I went through. I thought we agreed you weren't going to do that. Well, I thought we agreed we were doing props, so I did props.
Okay,
so
well, now we're stuck having to do the intro with you wearing that. That's your punishment.
I can't. But, stop touching me with your creepy gloves.
I'm getting hot, though, under the lights.
Thank you. Some of us are wearing 12 layers, and we're also very hot.
Just getting a little... Let me just adjust the microphone here. Anyway...
What is that?
My hand? The one God gave me? What's going on?
So weird. Will you scratch my back with it? I don't feel good.
Can I scratch through the vinyl?
Listen, I've got these tiny hands.
Well, I got one of it. I mean, I got made fun of a lot in high school for this, okay? Like, this is, it's like we all have a cross to bear, but, I just roll with it. So, anyway, let me just adjust the microphone here real quick.
I can't even drink my water. I can't.
Okay. Who do we have on today?
Okay.
Ashley?
Well, I don't know how I'm going to pivot from that. But could you give me a hand here? And thank you. Okay.
Let's see. Can I scroll? I can't scroll. It doesn't have capacitive touch. Okay.
Oh, big word. Okay.
But I support you, though.
Can I just say,
I just want you to know I support you.
the amount of pain from laughing in this tiny baby jacket.
I did have to say earlier. Okay, sorry, the gig's out of the bag here. The cat's out of the bag. We did plan this, but when we walked in the studio, Ashley had put this, so she put it on, and then I hadn't put the little hand in yet, and I had to use my wife's hair tie to hold it down here. And by the way, my hand is sweat. My arm is like just gallons of sweat.
You're
sweating?
Down. You're sweating.
Yeah.
You're
in my forearm. And so I was like, hey, Ashley, can you please help me with a hair tie? And she's like this, like a T-Rex trying to reach over and help me out. So it didn't work out. So we're trying to speed this along as much as we can.
Okay.
All right. Who do we have on today?
We say this all the time. I'm not exact. My favorite episode we have ever done. It was the hardest that I've ever laughed. I can't do what I need to do. Listen.
Yeah, go ahead.
You think you're funny with your creepy hand. Jana Bernard was quite literally the funniest guest until this moment that we have ever had on the Hope Ignited podcast. Listen, you probably have heard her name, but I do think if I can do this, it's worth reading who Jana is, okay?
Yeah.
She's a SAG-AFTRA actor, comedian, writer, director, and voiceover artist. She lives in New York City. You guys have heard her name because you've seen her on Netflix. She's been on Broadway. We didn't even get to tackle this yesterday. Yeah. She was Elle Woods in Legally Blonde.
Oh, really?
She was Val. She's been on Kinky Boots. She's been Val in A Chorus Line. She's been in Bonnie and Clyde. She's been in Assassins. This girl does it all. And let me tell you,
impressions, singing.
She's so good. And the best part about it is, as busy of a human as she is, she reached out to us and said, I want to use comedy for good. I think that this is a very heavy subject, and I genuinely believe that we could offer levity to women that are going through a very difficult time, which is what's happening right now. I am going through a very difficult time in this jacket, and I can't do my job because you're tiny.
I just feel nothing but empathy for you.
Wait, can we just get into it? Because I can't do it. Can you do it? I can't.
Yeah. And by the way, you left your keys up here from the other night.
I can't even drink
the keys to the filing cabinet.
I can't drink it.
There you go. Forgot to give that to you. Jana is the best. Like, she's brought out the best in us, and actually the worst in us. But take a sip. If I have to do Heimlich, you're dead.
Go introduce.
So anyway, Jana, you guys are going to love watching Jana Bernard just as much as we enjoyed talking to her. And welcome to Hope Ignited, Jana Bernard.
All right, you guys, welcome to Hope Ignited. I am so excited about the funniest episode we've ever shot here at Hope Ignited.
That's a high bar, and I think we're gonna climb and clear it. I am just excited because I have come out of quarantine. I had COVID, then I had bronchitis for a couple weeks. I've been coughing up lungs, and this is the first time I've seen human beings that are not my family. Yeah. And
you don't consider me your family. Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's fine. I also think it's important to know. I feel like COVID's back, right? Like, I feel like everybody has it. But
it takes a swing at me, and it just bounces off.
Well, proud of you.
It's nothing.
I just kind of did it. I
kind of laid around for a little bit, but I've seen everything on Netflix. I've done everything you can do online. I'm sick of being online. I'm ready to just go out.
Was that a segue to our guest today? You've seen everything. I've seen on
everything, including the person's show that we're about to introduce.
Well, here's the thing. So we've already done her intro. You heard all the amazing things about Jana. We are best friends. Help us welcome to the Hope Ignited table, Jana Bernard.
Jana Bernard.
Hi. We're so happy to have you.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
All the way from New York City.
All the way from the Big Apple.
I love it so much. Is that why you're wearing red for the Big Apple? That's perfect. I love it.
Yes. Also, I wanted to go with the Hope Ignited colors, so I figured I'd take care of the red. You know, we're working together as a team.
Yeah.
Can I borrow that jacket when we're in New York?
Stop it.
You think it'll fat guy in a little coat?
I was going to say that, but I can't say that. But you can say that. You can say that. I can't say that. You know, Jana, we have spent a lot of time together planning an event that we're going to chat about here shortly. But I know Kevin has not had the privilege of getting to know you as well. So we thought it would be really cool during this interview that, like, I could just tease some things up. He could really get to know you. And we really want to pull back the curtain on not just the amazing person that you are. I'm going to dote on you a little bit, but also the world of comedy. I mean, I feel like people watch these skits, they watch improv, they watch these stand-up shows. You see, of course, the world of social media has really opened up the door to all these amazing crowdsourcing things. I mean, there's so many different levels to comedy, but I don't think people understand really like the stepping stones and the history and the making and the time. So first, let's just start with you're calling from New York City today because you were on staff where?
I'm on staff at the Second City, New York.
No big deal. No big deal.
And I love it there. And I work part-time at Saturday Night Live.
What? That's insane. We're in the presence of royalty. This
Seriously,
is wild. Does Colin just ask about me regularly? Yeah. Tell Colin I said hi. I'm sure he asks about me regularly. At least in my mind, he does. Sorry, Scarlett. Sorry. But I do. That's incredible. I mean, I feel like you are at the top of your game. You are where most comedians aspire to be. But being on staff, meaning like you're teaching the art of comedy. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I got hired at, first of all, I am very happy to be here. And thank you so much for this lovely, warm, hyped intro. I am just the biggest fan of yours, Ashley. And from working with the National Breast Cancer Foundation, I am just in awe of the work you do. So it's honestly just an honor to be here. In terms of the Second City, I started working there in January. The second city originally was not in New York. They were in Chicago, and they still are. And then they opened a New York City location. Started working there as faculty, teaching improv and teaching improv for actors and teaching stand-up comedy. And now I'm very, very excited to be executive producing and a stand-up comedian on the show that we are doing together, which is going to be a breast cancer benefit at the Second City on the main stage on October 6th at 7:30 p.m. And all the ticket proceeds will be going to support the National Breast Cancer Foundation. Whoop, so we are very excited.
We are so excited. Can you even believe this?
No, I can't. It's a dream. I used to watch Saturday Night Live when I was a little kid. In fact, I wasn't really supposed to. And we had a TV. We used to have those. I'm old enough to where we had those TVs that you had to. It was like the number was on this dial, a rotary dial. And it was like 2, 3, 4, 8, whatever. And you went all the way around. And then they had like 33 and 54. And that's where all the infomercials were. But anyway, Saturday Night Live, I would turn the TV on. And I was like maybe 7 or 8 years old to watch Saturday Night Live because I heard my family all laughing in the other room. And I was supposed to be in bed. And I would watch whatever I could watch. And this would have been back in the day when it was like, Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy and those guys like that. And
before Jana and I were even a thought.
Blown. Half the jokes went over my head. They still do, right? But that whole world is just fascinating. So we got a lot of questions to ask you about. First of all, tell us about Second City. From my perception, it's an improv. Like you said, like an improv company where you're teaching. I know there's the Groundlings and there's some other of these that you kind of hear that are really iconic and famous. How did you even become a part of Second City? Did you know you want to do that? And tell us what is it?
Yeah. So I guess I'll give you kind of my Marvel origin story, if you will.
Yes.
So basically my first job out of college was Saturday Night Live. And I was just an extra on the show at first. I was like a blob in the background. And then I continued to do the show over the years. And during the pandemic, I started standing in for Kate McKinnon. Basically, Kate would do her sketches. And then during the pandemic, I started getting to go in for Kate as a stand-in. And so basically, they would call Kate's name and then I would stand in for her blocking. So it was kind of like this awesome comedy masterclass, being able to watch her work and watch the rest of the cast members work and be at these dress rehearsals and be at the live shows featured in sketches. And I got this awesome opportunity to learn from all of the people who work there in production. And basically that kind of was the catalyst for my comedy career. And during college, I started taking classes at the Second City. So just as a student, then the pandemic rolled around and we didn't really have a lot to do. And a lot of my friends were baking sourdough and we don't want me baking anything, guys. The only thing we want me making is jokes.
Preach.
We don't want me making any food. So I started doing the Second City Conservatory online during the pandemic because I just kind of needed something to do and I fell in love. I started taking classes in sketch comedy and improv. And then when I found out that Second City had opened in New York, I was like, what a great opportunity to hopefully lend some of my skills to the faculty there. And it has been a phenomenal experience.
Wow.
That's so freaking cool. I just can't believe it. Oh my gosh, Kate McKinnon. I have a question for you. What is your favorite SNL skit ever of all time? Even if you were, whether you were a part of it or not, and not to knock the ones that we're not going to speak about, but your personal favorite from every SNL skit.
That's a great question. I was actually going to ask both of you that. It's so hard. I feel like choosing a favorite sketch on SNL is like choosing a favorite child. You love them all dearly, but just like parents, you have a secret favorite. Yeah. So I would say my favorite. Oh, real quick, I'm going to turn off the air conditioning.
Oh, no, you're fine. Air conditioning in New York, what a luxury. You're rich.
It's a window unit, though. 100%.
Thank God, it's keeping me alive. I would say probably there's a sketch where Kristen Wiig keeps saying she doesn't want to sing. And she's like, oh, don't make me sing. Oh, don't make me sing. And I think that one is probably my favorite. I'm a huge Kristen Wiig fan. And last year I got to photo double for her when she was hosting SNL. And I also met her and she was just the sweetest person. So I would probably say that sketch is my favorite.
I'm here for it. What's yours?
Oh, yeah. Chris Farley Chippendales sketch.
You would. Nothing about that surprises me, actually.
Yeah, I mean, the most amazing thing ever when he's like dancing and stuff and he's all reluctant. Anything with Chris Farley, Man Down by the River, whatever, Adam Sandler, that was the sweet spot because I was in high school right around then. So all of the like Dana Carvey, church lady, well, isn't that special? All that kind of stuff. Like
one of us is good at voiceovers, and one of us isn't.
Yeah, no, that's obviously we revealed that that's not my talent.
Yeah, it's okay.
What about you?
You're sick. I mean, mine. I love Muy Chambon. That's one of my all-time favorites. Where they're coming in and they're like Lazari, effervescence, and they're like butchering the words. But my favorite has to be when it's like Maine courthouse, but it's all Cajun, like it's Louisiana, and they're like, "You're Maine now, boy," and everything's like about alligators.
Yeah.
That one.
Or the time about Kristen Wiig's Tiny Hands. That's a classic.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah.
So have you spent time with Kristen Wiig? Like you gotten to know her at all? Did you ever overlap with her?
She was hosting the show, and there's something called a photo double. So when they need shots of a person, they'll bring in another actor sometimes to photo double for them, which is similar to standing in, but a little bit different. So the first time I met Kristen Wiig, I was in costume as Kristen Wiig.
Oh, that's the best.
Which was a bizarre and super funny experience, getting to meet her dressed like her in her wig. And she was improvising on set in this sketch that we were doing. And every single line that came out of her mouth was just hilarious.
You're like
and
real
it was
life.
An awesome experience.
Yeah.
So you were wearing Kristen Wiig's wig in front of Kristen Wiig. Did you get a picture of that?
I was wigging with wig.
Did you wig out too? Did you wig out?
Did you take a picture of the two of you together?
Wigging with wig. Yes.
That was good. That was deep.
Did you get a picture of the two of you?
I unfortunately didn't get a picture with the two of us, but it was definitely like one of those moments in life where you're like, oh, I'm meeting my hero.
Oh, you're just in the moment.
As my hero.
You're in the moment.
Is she your comedy hero? Like, is that your, I don't want to say end goal, but when you look at the world of comedy, is she your pinnacle?
I would say Kristen Wiig is definitely up there. I think she's incredibly talented. She's also an insanely talented writer, too.
Oh, yeah.
But in my kind of comedy blender, I think my comedy heroes are Amy Poehler, Kristen Wiig, Tina Fey, Maya Rudolph. And I would say that especially Tina Fey, she also went to Second City. She performed at Second City as well. Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, I love that they're able to not only act in their projects and be these hilarious, larger-than-life characters, but they're also executive producing these projects too.
Yeah.
And I feel like the way that these comedy giants, like Amy Poehler, like Tina Fey, like Kristen Wiig, have been able to write, executive produce, and act in their projects and coalesce their different skills is like really exciting to me.
And inspirational, I'm sure.
Yeah, boss babe.
Because you see yourself in that, right? Don't you see yourself in that? In that you could be not only just kind of taking roles people write for you, but shaping your own?
I think that's ultimately what I want to do. Is I love working with other talented performers, and I like working on a team, and I definitely like being on the producing side as well as the artistic side. So I feel like that kind of Tina Fey, Amy Poehler mix is kind of where I see myself going.
What is a dream project that you have kind of rattling around in the deep recesses of your brain?
Besides our show that is coming up,
yes,
obviously.
Besides the dream in the next month. But
yeah.
I would say I would love to work on a late night show. In the past few years, I've been interviewing and like in final rounds for late night show positions. And I'm I'm just putting it out there. I'm Janifesting it, guys, that we are working on a late night show in the next year or so. And then I think ultimately working as a writer / performer on a sitcom would be really, really cool to me.
Oh, wow.
Remember your friends. Remember your friends when that happens, because I know it's going to happen.
You'll be right there in the audience, honey. It'll be a live audience
Best
show.
believe.
I'm going to have an Ashley chair. I'm going to have an NBCF row.
Amen.
Oh, hey, you said it. We're holding you to it.
Janifested.
Do you think that, I've been so fascinated over the last few years and just I'm always kind of reading articles on this about the rise of really like Netflix and Paramount and all these independent content creation vehicles. And, as I was saying, when I was a kid, it was ABC, NBC, CBS, and then cable and all that. Now that it's kind of moved off of that, you used to just go, I'm going to have a sitcom on NBC or ABC, and you made it. But you have these incredibly, successful shows on these, so do you think that we're moving to a place now where it just doesn't really matter to be on a network per se? When you look at the ratings and you see like, we could have a show that's banging around on the homepage of Netflix.
I do think that first of all, I think that these streaming services and to be on a show on these streaming services is incredible. And it does take, as an actor, a lot of auditions to get on a show like that.
Yeah.
And usually a lot of rounds of auditions, often callbacks, and then there are producers and directors that then have to sign off on an actor for these different projects. So there's a lot that goes into the process of getting onto a streaming service show or a network show. But I also think that there's this really cool new thing happening in our business, of course, with social media, where you're getting all of these really talented writers, comedians, performers who are now able to make their own work and then develop a fan base from our social media accounts as well, which I think is so cool to see. And it's awesome as a stand-up comedian, coming from that perspective, that you can kind of test your jokes out on social too.
Yeah, see if that lands.
This opportunity that you didn't necessarily have in previous years, where these other stand-up comedians, they would test it out in a live crowd, they would get the feedback then in real time.
Yeah.
But now we also get the advantage of having this whole social media audience that we can kind of bounce our work and writing and jokes off of.
It's literally your fans in the virtual stands. And we save tomatoes because we don't have to throw them in person if we don't like what it is that you're saying. I think too, Jana, a ton of people are going to watch this and are going to be like, I have not seen her in person. I am now following her on social media, insert social media tag here. But where else have people seen you? They're like, oh my gosh, I know her from something. What other projects are you doing right now?
So right now, I can't talk about the show that I'm currently on, I'm currently working on. But as soon as I can, you will be the first to know.
Ooh.
And in my last few shows that I did, I was on Girls 5 Eva on Netflix and on Poker Face on Peacock, playing the younger version of Judith Light's character. And I've also done some recent voiceover work on the Paramount feature film Under the Boardwalk, which was really, really fun.
That's 100%. People are like, that's exactly where I know her from. Because that was Tina Fey, right? Busy Phillips. You've got some Sarah Bareilles, some really cool personalities. What was it like working with those powerhouses?
Oh, they're amazing. They're such nice people. And truly, truly, it is so much fun to get to a live set. And I think that a lot of the excitement, of course, comes from the actors you're working with. But I do want to give a shout out to also the production and crew. The production and crew on these sets make your experience as an actor like so much better. And every production and crew that I worked on, as well as the cast, has been just like incredible and so talented.
That's amazing. We'll tag everybody here. I love that. You know, one of the things that I've had the honor of hearing this story that I can't not wait to share with people is kind of this moment in your life and your career where you knew you were funny. I asked you this whenever I very first met you. I'm like, you're so funny, but when did you know you were funny? Can you tell me a little bit about your moment with your teacher and the story we've chatted about?
Totally. So growing up, I was a little bit of a class clown. Yeah. And I went to this high school and I had this incredible teacher named Miss Dory. And Miss Dory had this amazing accent and she was this incredible Spanish teacher. She talked a lot with her hands. We love Miss Dory, okay? She was one of those people that could tell a whole story with her face, okay? Mm-hmm. And I loved doing Miss Dory's voice and impersonation of Miss Dory. And I started doing it around school and I got a little carried away. And I got brought into Miss Dory's office one day. And she said, Juanita, I need to talk to you. I've been hearing that you've been doing an impersonation of me. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get detention. I'm going to get kicked out of school. Like, I'm freaking out. And I was doing the impersonation out of love. Right? Because I love this teacher and I was doing it all from a place of love. And I got into her office and she was like, Juanita, sit down. Juanita is my Spanish name.
Ooh.
And I was like, okay, I'm sitting down. She's like, go ahead, do your impersonation of me. You think it's good? Go ahead, honey. Vamos. I'm like, oh my God. I'm going to get kicked out of school. I'm never going to get into college. I did my impersonation of her for her. And she looked at me dead in the eyes and she goes, you know where you're going? And I'm like, to hell? I don't know. Like, where am I going?
Yeah.
And she was like, you're going to be on television, baby.
Aww.
And Miss Dory said, you're going to be on television and in comedy, Juanita. And she said it so seriously. And I was so relieved because in that moment when the teacher could have put me in a lot of trouble for doing her voice and an impersonation of her around school, she kind of recognized that I had a passion for this. And she saw that I loved it. And she recognized that talent and then encouraged it when she could have punished me for it.
Like suppressed it. Yeah.
Totally. And I think that was a really formative moment for me as a student and as a comedian, hearing that I could really do this. And she looked at me and she's like, you could really make a career out of it.
Wow.
And Miss Dory, we lost to breast cancer a couple years ago. And so when I'm producing this show with NBCF on October 6th, I will be saving Miss Dory a seat in the balcony because I really want her to see that as a teacher, she changed my life.
Juanita, that's so beautiful.
I have some notes for you.
It's worse. You get worse.
I don't know. I'm just developing as the show goes on.
You sound like the minion guy.
It was like a Count Chocula or something too. I don't know.
That got real weird.
So that was really a great story because one thing we talk about a lot is, on the show is Hope Ignited, is being inspired and when people put hope in someone's life, like people in our lives inject hope into us at a key moment. Obviously you had two paths on that. If she had just laid into you and said, why are you making fun of me or whatever, then you might have tucked that down inside and then not let that gift come out. And instead she launched you into that, into that other place, to where you are now. So classes, I want to talk about classes and that concept of doing improv and working with other people for the first time. When I was in college, my freshman year of college, I was really shy for a while in high school, but I had been a really gregarious little kid and was a funny little kid. And then I kind of went through a tough time in high school and I just sort of shut down. I got into college and I took a drama class and an acting class. I just out of I don't even know how, you know, it's just like an elective or whatever. I'm like, oh, I guess I'll take this. And I got one of those inspirational teachers that just lights a fire inside of you. And I remember doing some of these exercises. Like one of them was they had us sit in the middle of a circle with like the 15 other students. And you just had to sit there and let everyone watch you for like 2 minutes, and you couldn't say anything.
You just had to sit there?
You couldn't say anything. The point was to get comfortable with people staring at you and
I don't
focusing.
know what would be harder for me as a comedian is having people stare at me for 2 minutes without me talking, or just me as a Jersey girl not talking for 2 minutes.
Exactly. It messed with my mind because the point was you had to get to where you could just be comfortable in your own skin, because what would happen is you would immediately start trying to make jokes and say, look at that guy. You try to get the attention off. But it was like this moment where, you know, I started to kind of like think about myself differently. And then, you know, you're doing these mirroring exercises and all that. And so by the end of the semester I did a 1-act play and all that. My entire personality came out. And from that point on, I was who I am now. I was not afraid of being in front of people and all that. Did you have any kind of moments in doing any of those acting exercises or improv moments where the switch flipped and you go, oh yeah, like I am on this, I know what I'm doing, or you learned something about yourself?
Totally. I had a moment like that in stand-up, actually. I went to University of Edinburgh in Scotland. And there were a couple guys who I was in a sketch comedy club with, and then they went to go do stand-up one night. And I just went to go watch and support, and I was 21 at the time. And so I had my life together. Of course. And I went to go watch them do stand-up, and I remember watching them, and I just was thinking like, oh, I can do this. So I like started writing jokes on a napkin in the audience. And then the guy who was on stage hosting the show was like, all right, does anybody else want to come up on stage and do a few jokes? And I was like, not me. And then he looks at me and he saw me writing the jokes and he was like, Blondie, do you want to get up on stage? And I'm like, nah, I'm okay, Braveheart. Like, I'm good. And he was like, Blondie, get up on stage. Come on. They're going to love you. Like, and so I got up on stage and I did the 3 jokes I wrote down, some improv that I was working on at Second City. And I just remember loving it. And I heard people laughing for the first time at jokes I had written. And it felt kind of like this dopaminergic feeling, like, oh, I could get used to this. And it kind of just opened my eyes to this new feeling of stand-up.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Can I tell you my moment like that?
Yeah.
You will appreciate this. So I MC a lot of events here locally, and it's taking me several years to really get to the level I'm at now where I genuinely feel like people ask me to come back. I get to do it every year. Yeah. Like, I feel like that's how you know you made it, right?
When they, emceeing.
I appreciate that.
For
but
real.
Can I tell you what I'm not the best at, or so I learned, are auctions. So about 10 years ago, I was emceeing an event for a Dallas Cowboys player, Sean Lee, if you remember. And
so cool.
It was his annual gala. And they brought me in to MC. It was on behalf of Boys and Girls Club. And I felt like I nailed it, did a really great job. All of the players were there. They were required to come, the defense specifically. And I just remember being at the podium and they were like, and now we're going to go directly into the live auction. And I was so embarrassed that I didn't have the auctioneer's name on the run of show. And I was like, ugh, I'll just like, whatever, let him introduce himself. And they were like, Ashley, go ahead, take it away. And I was like, all I know about this is John Michael Montgomery, Grundy County Auction. Like, I have to talk fast. I've got to be on my toes. Like, I didn't know what to do. And in that exact moment, I'm telling you, what came to me was comedy. I knew that when I showed up to valet and my Altima. I was not in a Bentley. I was not in a Lamborghini like everybody else that arrived. I also knew that my Payless shoes were not, the Louis Vuittons that like all the wives in the room had on. So I was like, I'm going to use this to my advantage right now. And we would ask for $10,000. We're going to start the bids at $10,000 tonight, which was like more money than I was making a year, right? At that time. Yeah. And nobody raised their hand. And I literally was like, excuse me, ma'am, that dead fox on your neck costs more than $10,000. I think that you can give me this money. Excuse me, Mr. Defensive End. I saw you pull up in your Lamborghini that you probably rented for the evening to look cool, but that also probably cost more than $10,000. And I roasted these people before I understood the art of roasting. Y'all, it was the most money he had ever made in his entire career. At his charity gala, and I was asked back every single year. And it was this moment where I was just like, well, the thing is though, so much of what we're doing together with you, Jana, is like bringing levity to awkward and hard situations, right? And it was such a profound moment for me where, I do want to talk about the show because I remember you reaching out to me and
Ashley, can I interrupt you for one second?
Yeah.
Speaking of comedy, my light has completely fallen over. And this entire thing is stacked up on board games. So give me 2 seconds.
No.
Speaking of comedy, give me 2 seconds to just fix this
go for
falling light.
Throw in tuck a chutes and ladder in there.
We're
and
talking about hope as like my entire self-tape system is just falling. It's crashing. It's like the fall of Rome.
It's a metaphor.
Yeah. No, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Do you remember that story? Do you remember me telling you about?
No, I've never heard the Sean Lee story.
It was incredible. And I've got photos from that night. And it's funny because you can even compare photos at the beginning of the evening and photos at the end of the evening. And you can just see this weight that's been lifted off my shoulder where I felt like I earned the opportunity to be there.
I can't think of a greater feeling than what you both are talking about than when you walk in front of because when you see someone get up on the stage, no matter what it is, there's a judgment happening, what they look like, how they approach the microphone, what they say.
Totally.
And the feeling of when you win the crowd over in the first like 5 or 10 seconds, and then they're yours.
Yeah.
And you get this whole crowd of people going. I can see why that would be addictive being a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. And I think there's an element too, and I think this is why, or this is at least why I initially came up with the idea for this breast cancer benefit stand-up show, is I think that when you share your story in a way that is funny, comedic, and vulnerable, people relate to it, right? So they see something in your struggle, something in your trauma even, that they can relate to, and then they're laughing because what they're really saying when they laugh is, haha, I understand.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think that's why I wanted to initially do this show and why I'm so happy that I got to partner with National Breast Cancer Foundation, is because I think that there's a true element to comedy where humor heals.
That's so good.
It really, really helps us heal because we have to find that light in the dark, no matter what's going on, whether you're going through a physical health crisis or a mental health crisis, or you're just Gen Z and you lost your phone. Like
you're baking sourdough regularly.
Right. I think it really does help us heal at the end of the day. Humor gives us hope.
Agreed. I do want to dive into the show though, because I know we've got to end shortly, but it's just such an important opportunity for us to be able to promote. Kevin and I are actually going to have the opportunity to be in New York City for this amazing show. Jana and I have been working on this tirelessly for several months now. Let's talk about, first of all, how you, my dear, were able to convince Second City, New York to host the first ever stand-up benefit show on the stage at Second City, New York.
So after a series of emails, I did talk to Second City and I said, look, I would love to do a stand-up comedy show. And I know we've never done a main stage stand-up comedy show before, but I would love to do a main stage stand-up comedy show that benefits breast cancer patients. And the reason that I really, really wanted to do this show is because, of course, this is a cause that has affected so many of us in so many different ways with so many different loved ones. And also because I do think, I really, really, truly believe that comedy can be that light in the dark. So I said that to Second City, and thankfully Second City agreed to let us have the first ever main stage stand-up show benefiting the National Breast Cancer Foundation.
Incredible.
And I am beyond excited.
I am not saying no to Juanita. I don't know about you, but she ain't getting a no from me. And then you were able to build out the most impressive lineup of comedians. Can we give them love? Can we give them a shout out and talk about how they're donating their time for this?
Totally. We are very excited. We're going to have comedians from Saturday Night Live, Late Night with Seth Meyers, Comedy Cellar. These are comedians that are going on to perform at the Beacon Theater, who have been on America's Got Talent. We have a stacked lineup. We are so excited. And our very own Ashley is going to be saying an incredible tribute to the National Breast Cancer Foundation. So it really is kind of the dream team. And I'm very, very happy to be a part of it and to be hosting it. So it should be a great night.
It's your baby, and I promise you we're going to handle it with care. You are our favorite child as our, NBCF baby here.
Thank you. And thank you for helping me raise my comedy baby. I really appreciate the co-parenting.
It's truly, least we could do. You might be the father. I don't know. Paternity test pending. But I just want you to know, Jana, we're going to make a big difference for people when they need it most. And I think it's so amazing that you reached out. We're honored that you chose NBCF to be a part of this. We're going to have a great trip one more time for people. We're going to put the flyer up, give us the details of the event. And we genuinely hope to see people there. Are there still tickets remaining for the event?
There are still a few tickets. Get them while you still can. They're going very, very fast. So go to the Second City website to purchase tickets. It is a stand-up breast cancer benefit show on October 6th at 7:30 p.m. Doors open at 7, and it's going to be on the main stage.
It's amazing. Well, we look forward to seeing you guys there.
Can't wait to meet you in person. Can't wait to take a bite of Big Apple, go all the delis. And so I haven't been since right before COVID. I think I might have been what started COVID in New York.
Now we know.
Now we know. We'll see.
And Kevin, are we going to be working on your 5-minute set?
We're working. I'm working on it right now. I know I will not be doing a Juanita impression based off of Ashley's initial response
here, but we can work on yours. We're gonna get it all ready for the show.
You know what you're gonna need is a miracle. I'm praying for you. I'm praying really hard for you.
I'm gonna go stand up in front of the mirror and work on my set, and then we'll be ready to go.
We'll take it back to the writer's room. We'll take it back.
Take it back there. Grill me, roast me. I'm ready.
There you go. I'm good at roasting. I could roast you.
She roasts me all the time anyway. It's not making me any better.
That's fair. Well, hey, we love you. We can't wait to see you. We look forward to seeing you guys at the show. And thanks, Jana, for joining.
Thank you, Jana.
We look forward to seeing you guys.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I can't wait to see you all at the show.
Okay,
we'll see you guys
soon.
back here soon on Hope Ignited.